The World Court of Public Opinion has already concluded that police officers killed George Floyd. But according to the attorney for one of the former police officers involved, the individual legally responsible was George Floyd himself. A warning in advance, we're going to watch some of the video from the arrest scene, which some viewers may find disturbing. Video seen around the world showed Floyd pinned under the knee of Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, pleading, "I can't breathe," and then going limp. An independent autopsy conducted by experts hired by Floyd's family and an initial report from the Hennepin County medical examiner both listed the manner of death as homicide. Chauvin was charged with second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and manslaughter, and three other officers on the scene, Thomas Lane, Alexander King, and Tu Tao, have been charged with aiding and abetting second-degree murder and aiding and abetting manslaughter. All four have been fired, three released on bail. Chauvin remains in custody. Attorney Earl Gray, representing Officer Thomas Lane, said his defense will be that George Floyd killed himself. Earl Gray joins me now to discuss. Counselor, thank you for being here. Would George Floyd have died that day without Officer Chauvin's knee on his neck?
Yes, we believe that he would have died in any event. And that's based on his fentanyl in his system and also the body camera close-up pictures of his conduct when my client approached his vehicle. Pictures show, go ahead.
I was going to say, you take the victim as you find him, right? I mean, perhaps he had an underlying condition, but if the restraint is what killed him, that would defeat your defense, true?
That would be true, but the restraint did not kill him. We've had many pathologists, medical examiners around the world actually email us and tell us what they believe the cause of death would be, ranging from the COVID that he had just gotten over, to the drug amount in his system, to excited delirium, all kinds of other areas that he would have died, all kinds of reasons for him to have died. The key here is the amount of fentanyl he had in his system, which was 11 nanograms, which would be 3 times the amount that an ordinary person would have to die. 3 nanograms can kill you. He had 11. And if you look at the body camera closely and the close-ups that we submitted in our second memorandum, you will see that there's a white substance on the back of his tongue. He turns his head to the right, he looks back, and the substance is gone. And our position is that that white substance was the fentanyl on him. In addition to that, we cite in our second memorandum that he did the same thing a year before this. And at that time, though, he told the officers that he was under the influence of drugs and he had just taken some drugs. So instead of doing what the officers did here, because Officer Lane asked him, "Are you on something?" And Mr. Floyd said, "No, I'm hooping." Well, hooping means playing basketball. At least most people believe that. So he denied being on the drugs. Year before he admitted it, they took him to the hospital where he stayed. This time they didn't. I hear him buzzing.
I understand. I understand the nature of your causation defense. Is it nonetheless not a very tall order for you to essentially say to a jury that it's a coincidence that we're watching 9 minutes of Chauvin's knee on his neck and his expiration?
Well, first of all, it wasn't 9 minutes on his neck. We have also other experts that will look at that photo and say, no, his knee was not on his neck to the point where he would be asphyxiated. Also, in the training manual, there's a photo of when somebody's arrested, how to hold him. Was this photo of somebody with his knee.
I'm gonna put that on the screen. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I want to put that on a screen because I do find that rather remarkable. This is from the training manual, correct?
That's correct. Yes. It's Exhibit 7 in our memo.
So is your defense not only causation, but also that Officer Chauvin, as inappropriate as we lay people may believe that to have been, was actually following police protocol?
Yes, absolutely. And in addition to that defense, and I know you are a lawyer, we have the defense the Officer Lane does and Officer King, that they did not willfully participate in any conduct of Chauvin's because they had no knowledge. If he did, which we believe he didn't, we had no knowledge that he was committing a third-degree assault. We thought, and Officer Lane would tell you, that he believed that Officer Chauvin was using reasonable force to hold a person until the ambulance arrives. That's what's lost here also. The video that was shown first was just the end. The body camera video that I submitted to the court, and it then became public record, the body camera shows the resistance of George Floyd from the start till the end. And the statements in his in the police vehicle that he could not breathe. He started saying that in the police vehicle when they were trying to get him in the vehicle. So
in other words, I know from, I watched all 37 minutes, 6 or 7 times before he's put in, he says, I can't breathe. I'm limited on time. I want to ask you finally, briefly, the most important question. Are you going to be able to find a jury willing to listen to what you've just explained here?
I hope so, but of course we know the problem. And also the problem is all of these politicians, you hear Biden, Mrs. Obama, all saying that he was murdered, that George King was murdered. And they're all lawyers. They should know, and they should realize that they should not say things like that because there's no conviction, there's a charge, and we believe the charge is even faulty. But finding a jury on this case, I think once we get done with our preparation and we get a change of venue to a different area than Minneapolis, and of course in Minneapolis, jurors would be afraid that if they found a not guilty, that their city would burn down. But if we get it out of Minneapolis and get a fair jury, which I believe we can, I've had these types of cases before, I think we can get a fair jury, and I think that the verdict would be not guilty, at least on my client.
To be continued.
Officer.
Mr. Gray, thank you. I wish I had more time. I'm intrigued by all of these issues. By the way, Tao and Lane have asked the cases against them be dismissed. King's attorney said that his client intends to plead not guilty. Still to